It's all here.
A no-hitter, grand slam. Have all the fun you want.
Every moment, every game.
Make sure you guys tune in.
Catch the White Sox only on NBC Sports Chicago.
Welcome to the Blackhawks Talk podcast presented by Coors Light. With Charlie Roumeliotis, I am Pat Boyle. On this episode, the captain, Jonathan Toews, speaks publicly about what he's been dealing with the last year, and we go one-on-one with Brandon Hagel. Which player in the Stanley Cup Final does Hagel look to model his game after? How did Team Canada turn it around and win the World Championship gold? And who will Hagel be looking for on the dance floor at Alex DeBrincat's upcoming wedding? It's all coming up next on the Blackhawks Talk podcast.
Hockey is back, and that means epic saves, breakaways, power plays, and Dunkin' Cold Brew to keep you going. Steeped overnight, Dunkin' Cold Brew has an ultra-smooth, bold taste. Order ahead with the Dunkin' app, or get Dunkin' delivered, so you won't miss a moment of the action. So grab your lucky jersey and a cold brew for game time, because where there's hockey, there's Dunkin'.
Born in the Rockies, Coors Light is lagered cold for a crisp, clean taste. Filtered cold to ensure clarity and brightness. And packaged cold for peak refreshment. Because those who thirst for more deserve the world's most refreshing beer.
All right, Charlie, on Wednesday, exactly 6 months and a day from the press release that said Jonathan Toews would be out indefinitely while he deals with an undisclosed condition. Jonathan Toews released a video that he did with Blackhawks TV. Let's take a listen.
It feels great. It's been a long time. Honestly, I haven't taken this much time off the ice probably ever since I was a kid at least. So it's definitely nice to be back in Chicago, see some of the guys again, and just slowly but surely just kind of settle into to the life and to the routine again. So it's a good feeling right now. I just think there's a lot of things that just kind of piled up where my body just fell apart. And so what they're calling it was chronic immune response syndrome, where I just couldn't quite recover, and my immune system was reacting to everything that I did, any kind of stress, anything that I would do throughout the day. Just there was always kind of that stress response. So it took some time, and that was the frustrating part, was not really knowing when or how we were going to get over the hump. But thankfully, I got a great support team of people that helped me through it, and learned a lot about just the stress I put on my body over the years. And I appreciate all the support, and a lot of people were worried and definitely felt bad to a certain degree that people were that worried that they thought it was really serious. But in the back of my mind, I'd get through it. It was just a matter of time. I wasn't too vocal about the things that I went through this year, and definitely want to thank the fans. I mean, my teammates, the organization, Rocky, Stan, Jeremy, everybody, and the fans especially. I think we talked about the things that you appreciate and things that you maybe take for granted. But I think number one thing is I've had so many people across the hockey world and fans and people that have shown their support. And I think that's the biggest thing, is you realize there's more to life than hockey. But I'm excited to get back to the United Center and play and just go out there and have fun. And I think my best is going to come through, and excited to get back in front of the fans.
So, Charlie, that's the 2 minutes we got to hear from Jonathan Toews. First time we've seen him publicly since he was on the NBC Sports Chicago broadcast, wishing Patrick Kane well wishes after his 1,000th game. Let's start with that. What stood out to you in the 2-minute video?
Yeah, well, first off, it was great to hear from him. Obviously, the first time, like you said, in 6 months, and it would have been difficult for this to kind of linger into the offseason and questions swirling going into next year about whether Jonathan Toews is going to be in the fold. And so the fact that he addressed this going into the summer as we approach the expansion draft, NHL draft, and free agency, it's nice that he's going to for sure be part of the mix next season now that he's back in Chicago and skating. But as far as what he was dealing with, like, it sounded like he definitely needed some time away to let his body recover. And so hopefully he's feeling 100% ready to go, and he can ramp up the training over the next few months and leading into training camp.
Yeah, Johnny called it a chronic immune response syndrome. And of course, a lot of us started Googling to find out more about it. A lot comes up under chronic inflammatory response syndrome, known as SIRS. So, he basically said his immune system was reacting to everything. There was always a stress response in his body. It took a lot of time, and it was frustrating on him not knowing when he would get over the hump. So I think a lot of folks they wanted the answers, but when you do Google this condition or this syndrome, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of diagnosis that it's something like Lyme disease. It mimics other diseases and has so many different symptoms to them, like fatigue, weakness, flu-like symptoms, exhaustion, insomnia, that you can see why maybe this took a long time to diagnose and to get under control.
Yeah. And it sounded like he needed really that time off from hockey. And even he said it, he's like, I think this is the longest I've been off the ice since I was a kid. And so the fact that obviously, he's going on 32 or 33 years of age. So that's not ideal at this stage of his career, but you're hoping, and I think he's hoping too. You heard it at the very end of his message saying, I hopefully his best, or it'll show in the coming years that he needed his body to kind of recharge. And, after 14 NHL seasons and all those playoff grinds. So it's nice that he's feeling close to normal again, and hopefully come season time, he feels 100% both on and off the ice.
And, when we last saw him before the bubble, he had 60 points in 70 games. So he had a really solid year. He looked good in that opening round against Edmonton. And then he tailed off a little bit also in that Vegas series, much like the rest of the team. But, I did see a lot on social media made about the timing of this. And I just, my initial reaction is the severity and the seriousness of the allegations that the team is dealing with. Those aren't going away anytime soon. They surfaced in mid-May publicly. They have been building the last few weeks with more reporting and more people coming forward. Knowing Toews and how he is over the last 14 years, Jonathan Toews would not be part of a PR bait and switch. That's just not his style. He did not wait 6 months to break his silence to do it, to try to distract from another issue. That's just not the Toews I know. I don't think the timing would have been much different if this was a week from now, if it was 4 days earlier, if it was 2 weeks from now. I don't think the severity and the seriousness of those allegations and that story are going to go away anytime soon. So just your thoughts on the backlash, on the timing of this.
Yeah, it honestly feels, it makes me feel uncomfortable that the first reactions when Toews releases something like this is the timing of it, right? Like I think for us, it was the sooner we know, or the sooner that Toews kind of revealed what he was going through. And the fact that he's been in Chicago now for, it sounds like a little bit, it was going to get out that he was back in Chicago, and there were going to be rumors speculating, and who's to say that they maybe were hoping to kind of announce this sooner, but with everything that was going on, they needed to kind of prolong this. So, with the draft coming up, with free agency coming up, we're obviously going to be speaking to the management group, and there are going to be a lot of questions about, well, we're going into free agency. Is Jonathan Toews going to be part of the fold? And so getting out ahead of this before this is an off-season storyline is the that's what I think is the most important thing. So I'm not even going to get into the timing and whether this played a role into what's going on right now.
Yeah, and some of the same folks that are talking about the timing and floating those types of I don't want to say clickbait, but what floating those angles to this story, they're also the ones that are talking about how their inbox was flooded and their phone was flooded with all the rumors about what Toews had and what he was dealing with and the severity of it and retirement and all these other things. And then in the same, they're showing like, this is what was in my inbox over the last year. You don't get extra credit for holding on to things and then revealing them down the road. And I mean, you're taking a victory lap for saying you didn't perpetuate the rumor mill, but you're giving said person your social media platform and you're putting it out there 6 months later. I just, again, and here's what I want to say. As we go forward with the serious allegations that this team is dealing with and the internal investigation that's going on, people in the media need to go about their business in a respectful manner and not be destructive or disruptive. Journalism is the main reason why this story has come to light in recent weeks, and for that I applaud it. But don't go down the slippery slope like we saw with the Toews medical situation, and don't go down that same slippery slope with this serious sex allegation story. Yeah,
like if I'm a Blackhawks fan and I see that Jonathan Toews announces on his Twitter that he's feeling back close to 100% and he's back in Chicago and he plans to return next season, I would feel slimy for my first reaction to be, oh, well, how peculiar of the timing of this drop. Like I'm like, one, amazing news that we have finally heard from him, given all the rumors that were out there and the speculativeness of what he was dealing with. But two, we can go into the summer and you fans can actually get excited. I was actually, I'm sure there's going to be all this discussion projecting the roster for next season. And so at least it gives fans something to get excited about because Jonathan Toews is back in the mix. So I'm not even, again, like my initial reaction when that news dropped had nothing to do with what was going on with the organization right now. It was more of like Jonathan Toews is back and that's great news for the Blackhawks.
Yeah. So good to see Jonathan Toews back. It looks like you said he's settling in, as he put it, into the hockey life routine. So he's going to try to get himself ramped up and ready to go, because we are going to have a short turnaround this offseason before training camp begins in September. On to our next topic. It's time for our cold brew check presented by Dunkin'. And we catch up with Brandon Hagel after his fantastic rookie year with the Blackhawks. We had a conversation with him, Charlie and I did, before the Stanley Cup Finals started. That's coming up next on the Blackhawks Talk podcast. Did you know that 80% of the grass-fed beef sold in the United States is imported from overseas? It's staggering. That's why I get my meat from GoodRanchers.com. When you buy Good Ranchers, not only are you getting amazing meat, but you're also supporting American farms. GoodRanchers.com safely delivers American craft beef, better than organic chicken, and more, delivered quickly and safely to your door. Don't play the grocery store guessing game. Know where your meat comes from with GoodRanchers.com. Go to GoodRanchers.com and use the code Chicago for $20 off and free express shipping. Well, Brandon, before we get what you are up to, let's talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup playoffs. Any surprise that Tampa made it to the Stanley Cup final after seeing them up close and personal during the regular season?
I don't think it's too much of a surprise. They're a good hockey team. They play really hard, really good game. we had some tough games against them, and they really showed us what it takes to be at the top. So definitely not a surprise there.
First off, Brandon, it's good to actually see you in person, and you can see us in person for the first time this year. You guys obviously played Tampa a lot this year, so you kind of know their style. But are you seeing a different style of hockey in the playoffs from the regular season, where you're like, okay, I know how we play both as an individual, as a team in the regular season, but there's another level that we have to get to in the postseason hockey. Are you seeing that when you're watching from afar?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was just talking to my brother the other day about it too, and I kind of said it's just insane. Like playoffs it's almost like it's a different type of game, and you can kind of see that from a distance for sure, just watching it on TV and tuning in there. But it's nice to see. I mean, get a glimpse of it. I mean, we were all sitting here wishing that was us, so hopefully we can get there right away.
Brandon, is there a player that has stood out to you, whether it's style of play or what they bring to the table, that kind of reminds you of the style of play that you have or you'd like to find and bring to the Blackhawks?
Yeah, actually, Yanni Gourde off of Tampa Bay. I think he plays a really hard game, gets in people's faces. I mean, he's definitely not fun to play against. You can see it on TV and playing against him. I think that's someone that you can definitely notice, and he definitely helps that team out a lot from my opinion.
That's a good comparison. I was going to say, I see a little Brendan Gallagher in you as well. When you're watching Montreal, or you're watching how they got there, those scrappy type playoff players that maybe it doesn't show in the regular season because it's really hard to play that style for 82 games in a normal year. Do you pride yourself on playing that brand of hockey, obviously, but then when you're watching the playoffs, are you like, man, I hope I can get there one day because I feel like it could translate better as well in that postseason?
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing you kind of notice. I mean, playoffs is incredible. I mean, everyone watches it, everyone wants to be a part of it, and everyone's end goal is to win the Stanley Cup. So I think definitely with my play game, I think that's something that could benefit the team with, just kind of being that disturber a little bit out there, but also benefiting the team on the score sheet as well. So I think I'm super excited, and I can't wait to get there, to be honest.
We're talking to you before game one. Do you have a prediction on the series? Who's going to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup when it's all said and done?
I mean, I would like to say Tampa, but I mean, Montreal's proved everyone wrong so far. So honestly, hope the best for them, to be honest.
Is that encouraging too, Brandon? Like, considering, they were the last team like you guys in the bubble last year, and they were the last one in, this year in the playoffs, and they've been able to prove people wrong, play a disciplined brand of hockey, and take advantage of the few opportunities that they may see in a game?
Yeah, they've done a really good job with it. Just from what I'm watching, I think they know how to win tight games, and I think that's really important in the playoffs. You can tell playing those good teams too in the regular season. I mean, tight games are hard games to win, especially against good teams, especially teams in the playoffs. But they've done a really good job. I mean, they may get outshot here and there, but I think they play it pretty well, and I've liked the way they played so far.
Let's get to you personally. We obviously haven't spoken to you since the regular season ended. What was that World Championship experience like? And obviously starting the way you did and then having to rally back, how cool was that to be part of that experience?
Yeah, definitely a crazy 3 weeks. I think obviously a lot of us at the start were kind of in the dumps. I mean, it's not a good feeling, especially when you're playing in a bubble situation. I mean, Team Canada has never lost 3 straight games in a row to start the tournament. So everyone was kind of like, well, we could potentially go down as the worst team in Canadian history. And we knew we didn't want to do that. So we kind of just rallied together. I know a lot of guys kind of talked about it while we were there. It's just something that we take pride in our country and take pride in being here. So those next 4 games, as soon as we found out we got in, I think we just kind of rallied from there. And just kind of all worked out. So, I mean, it was an incredible experience. I loved it. I loved the opportunity. It was definitely a long year this year, but to be able to do that and experience that, and especially coming home with gold, is something special to myself.
There's a certain pressure that comes with playing on Team Canada. Like, you're expected to win. So then when you start off with those 3 straight losses, and like you joked, maybe go down as, one of the roughest or toughest, the losingest teams in Canadian history. Was there a moment, like a galvanizing moment, whether it was something Gallant said, whether it was one of the first win that kind of said, all right, guys, those 3 games were not us. They're not defining what this team is about. We can flip the script and actually find a way to win gold?
Yeah, I think after those first 3 games, it was kind of just one of those things. Like, it's a short tournament. You only play 7 games or whatnot in the round robin. So it's just one of those things. It's like, well, we got to win the next 8. So we'll just go from there. Basically, it's you can't really look back on those next games, and we kind of took pride in it. It was kind of like, this isn't what we want to happen, but there's nothing we can do with it. So let's just try and win the next 8, like I said, and it ended up working out for us.
I know this sounds weird to say, but I'm sure you guys felt the pressure after dropping the first game, dropping the second game, and then dropping the third game. When you guys lose 3 straight, in a way, is it kind of like, all right, well, we got nothing to lose at this point. Let's just go out and play? Or like, did you guys feel that pressure still? Like, what was that balance like? Because it felt like when you guys went down 3 straight, it was like, well, we got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, you kind of said it best. It was like just one of those. It's honestly, it was just such a weird situation because no one expected that. We didn't expect that. And for that to happen, it was just kind of like everyone was kind of just looking around at each other like, this is just not it. Like, this is kind of, and I think it almost seemed like it was a little bit of a wake up call. And I think Gallant, the way he went with it after those 3 losses, it definitely benefited us. It wasn't a thing that just put us down, or it was kind of one of those things. Well, like you said, nothing to lose. Let's go out there and play and take one game at a time. And that's what we did. And we just kind of ran with it.
Owen Power was a teammate of yours. He got more and more ice time as the tournament went on. Do you think, Brandon, his play in the tournament showed that he should be the number 1 pick taken in the NHL draft?
Yeah. Obviously, I'll be a little biased because I played with him and I got to see him play, but this kid's unbelievable. He can play. I mean, he turned out to be one of our best defensemen there as a, 17-year-old. That's incredible. The way he moves, the way he skates, the way he moves the pucks is insane. I mean, I'm just playing with him once. I'm excited to see him in the league and see how he develops, because he can become a superstar.
Do you see some Victor Hedman in him, where they're big body, like puck moving type defensemen? We had Ryan Hardy on the Chicago Steel GM, and he was, kind of throughout Seth Jones too, has some comparisons where they're big, physical, puck moving defensemen, but they can also play 2-way. Do you see those similarities in him?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he's a little bit young, so I'm sure he'll put a little bit more beef on in the next coming years. But definitely, he's so smooth. He's so patient with the puck. He just and he's really good in the D zone. Obviously, a 17-year-old year, it's going to take you a little bit of time, but for his age and the way he's at, I mean, like I said earlier, he's going to be a superstar. You can compare him to all the top D-men in the NHL, and you can see a little bit of everything in him.
What was it like experiencing it with Nick Beaudin?
It was cool. It was nice to have Boz there, because obviously going into a new team, you like to feel a little bit more comfortable flying across the world. And you have someone you kind of know. So it was nice that Boz was able to come out there and win gold as well.
Were you guys roommates there, or was your roommate someone else?
No, we had our own rooms. So
okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense with COVID.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to since the Worlds, Brandon?
went back to Chicago kind of just for a couple of days, grabbed all my stuff, and then I drove back here. I had to do the quarantine for 14 days. So I haven't been doing a ton. I just got out like 3 or 4 days ago, and then I just started back up training again this week. So just kind of back to that grind a little bit for the rest of the summer.
I saw on your Instagram, I think yesterday or the day before, you got some golfing. Was that one of your first activities when you got out of quarantine?
Oh yeah, big time. I couldn't wait to play, to be honest. But it's like one of those things. I'm a little red, as you guys can probably see. Got a little bit too much sun on the weekend, but it was nice to get out.
Well, what is the rest of your offseason going to look like? Obviously, you just mentioned that it was a grinding season because you obviously started the year overseas and then you came back. Then you play in the Worlds. Like, what's the balance between I need a mental reset to get away, but also, the season's going to be right around the corner because they're trying to get back on a normal schedule in October?
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy turnaround in a long year. Like you said, when I was over in Switzerland, I was gone for just about 9 months there. So playing every other night, it was kind of definitely took a toll on me a little bit towards the end. I think my body was definitely feeling it, but I think I got these last 2 weeks and a bit. It was a good, nice reset button, kind of just sit back and see and take some time to see everything that kind of happened this year, because it has been a crazy year for myself. I never would have thought I was going to World Championships yet playing the whole season for Chicago. So it was a little bit crazy for me. So it was kind of nice to have a little bit of alone time, just hanging out here with my brother and just kind of doing all that stuff, talking a little bit about it. But for the rest of the summer, it's kind of just back, maybe take another week or two off skating, kind of get back that. And then I'm going to head down to Chicago for a week or so for Alex's wedding there. And then I'll come back for a little bit and then probably go back to Chicago start of September.
You talked about the wear and tear on the body and just that grind of playing in the NHL, especially every other night. Did you guys as a group talk about it collectively with so many young guys? I mean, because we talked about it on the broadcast sometimes, the rookie wall or things of that nature. But is that a real thing? And what can be done to get over that hump once you experience it as your career continues?
I just think I think definitely the old guys did a lot helping us with that this year, especially because we had so many young guys as well. It was nice to be able to talk to them, see how they're feeling and see what they're doing, kind of things like that. Just kind of take bits and pieces. For the rookie wall, I think just to get over that, the way I did it, I looked at it was kind of just it's another game. I mean, you wake up the next morning, you do whatever it takes to make sure you're ready for the game. And all it is just one game, and take it game by game. And instead of looking like, oh, we only have 15 left, like I'm dying out a little bit, I tried to just focus in on that day, what I needed to do the day before a game to get ready, and then take it to the game day and then really do what I had to do to be ready for puck drop. So it's just one of those things that that's the way I took it. A lot of guys take it a little bit different ways, and it's kind of personal preference.
Was there ever a moment during the season where you're like, a normal season is 82 games? Like, I'm dying over here. We're at 56.
Yeah. No, I never really thought about that. Honestly, it was kind of just, I don't really know. I definitely felt that, like, you'd wake up some mornings, you're like, holy, like, I got to play a game tonight kind of thing. But I never really thought about that because it was kind of every other night. So it was like that. The schedule was already crazy busy. So it was kind of one of those things that, like, I just got to wait till next year to see how it is.
What was your exit interview like? What did Jeremy and Stan and the coaching staff say to you as you wrapped up this season?
It went well. We just talked a little bit about how my year went, and coming into next year that my role may be a little bit better. And I'm a little bit of a floater around the dressing room. I kind of get along with everyone. I'm one of those guys. So just kind of making the older as well as the younger guys be ready for the game. I think I take pride in that type of stuff as well. just as I do create good relationships with kind of everyone in the dressing room. So I kind of want to do a little bit like that, but it was just kind of talked about my game this year as well as maybe taking on a little bit of a bigger role next year. And it's kind of only going to get harder from here as other people are going to know who you are.
Yeah, I'm sure that exit interview was full of positive reviews, but is there one area where they were like, all right, this is where we want you to improve next season to take that next step? And maybe it aligns with you personally, what you're trying to accomplish or what area you're trying to hone in on?
I think we never really got too deep into that, but I think they know what I need to do. I've been told kind of my whole life, I definitely want to put on a little bit more pounds. And as most fans would say, probably work on my goal scoring ability a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I kind of know what I want to work on, where I need to improve. And as you're a pro, you kind of understand that stuff. So I don't think you need to hear it over and over again. So they definitely know that.
We talked earlier about the pressure of playing for Team Canada. How about the internal pressure? You know, you had that one game, the pandemic hits, and then it took like 17 games to get that first NHL marker. And I remember you were getting a ton of ice time and you were moving up the lines. And so you're doing all the right things. It's just, puck wasn't going in. What was that like for you, those first 16 games or so, kind of dealing with wanting to get that icebreaker?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, I was kind of just worried about my play, and I thought I was playing pretty well. Like you said, I was kind of moving up in the lineup. I was playing quite a few minutes. So, I mean, the way I was playing was good. But after 10 games, I was like, okay, like it's going to come soon. And after like 15, I just was like, I may never score. But I mean, it was nice to get it out of the way. I never really let it come down on me, but as the games went on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting a little. But after like, that would have been after like the 15th game, I was like, okay, now like it's got to go in soon kind of thing. But before that, I was kind of just worried about getting my foot in the door and trying to get myself in the lineup every single night and be a consistent player day in and day out. So that was my goal, to play all those games this year. And I was happy to accomplish it. And then one went in and a few more went in. So it was nice.
It was so bizarre. Like every game that we watched, it was like it wasn't just like, one chance and then he made, like you had multiple scoring chances. And there was one game, I can't even remember, where you had two shorthanded opportunities and it was like, all right, it's coming the next game. And then like you had to wait a couple more games. It's still how bizarre was that for you, where it wasn't just like, he's on this long drought. It was like you were getting high quality scoring chances and they still were not going in.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 games I had a breakaway each game, and it was just one of those things. I was like, oh, this is like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because I mean, I scored tons in the AHL, I scored tons in junior, so I was like, I don't think I changed anything, but it's the NHL. It's a hard league to score on. So and I learned that this year, and that's something I definitely want to come back and work on in the summer, is just a little bit of techniques and stuff like that. And then the guys this year, like Brinksy and Kaner, and those guys are really helpful. Obviously, everyone noticed that I was getting all these chances, but it wasn't going in. So it was definitely nice. They were able to help me out in a few areas there, especially after practice, which was awesome. So
you were just dragging it out because you wanted the legend Patrick Kane to set up your first goal, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all I was waiting for.
What did getting those 2 overtime game winners do to your confidence the last third of the season or so? Yeah, it was nice. Just to get those. It was awesome. There's no better feeling than scoring in overtime. I mean, I haven't been in the playoffs yet, so it's probably better there. But just for that, it was nice. I was really just kind of feeling it from there, and it was nice to get the one, and then to get the second one. It was especially in a game that it was like, it definitely helped me a lot. But my confidence was kind of, it just the older guys helped it a lot this year. I got to give them credit. They made me feel so much comfortable, and it definitely helped me throughout the entire year. I was able to joke around with
everyone and get along with everyone. And it definitely just motivated me and made me have one of the best years of hockey in my life this year, both on and off the ice. So it was nice.
When you score that first one and then you get those 2 overtime winners, is it kind of like maybe during that drought you had doubts about how difficult it is to score at the National Hockey League, and you're like, man, do I have to do this every time I try to score a goal? And so when you finally do get those goals, are you like, okay, is that like a weight lifted off your shoulders? That like, all right, I still know how to play this sport to my ability?
Yeah. It's definitely just one of those things, because that sometimes you just obviously think like maybe it's just not my game. Like maybe I lost my scoring touch kind of thing. But to get those, it's nice. It's just kind of a reinsurance that I know I can score at this level. I'd like to say the bounces weren't going my way at the start, but I mean, like I said, it's NHL. It's a tough league to score in. But now I know I'm able to do that. So it'll definitely help me going into next season.
I remember talking to you early on in the 56 game schedule, and you talked about the importance of playing in Switzerland as your ramp up to the shortened season. Is there anything you can take away from that experience and try to mimic that, whether it's in Canada or when you get to Chicago, so that you hit training camp and the start of your second full NHL season and you hit it in stride?
Yeah. I think that's why I'm going to go probably 3 weeks earlier. I think Chicago has a lot of options for you down there skating consistently. You have people that can teach you or work on things, whatever you need to, one-on-one things if you really need to. So it's nice to have that way. And like I said earlier, I'm comfortable around all the guys. So it's going to be nice going back just to have a little bit more confidence and being comfortable around the room and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely going to help. And like I said, going back earlier and skating with all those guys and kind of just getting ready, just like I did.
Did it help for you personally off the ice, where you're bouncing around these different locker rooms, like in Switzerland and then the Blackhawks and then the Worlds, even I'm sure Rockford last season, hopping in and out of all these locker rooms? Did that help for you personally, knowing like, all right, I want to be able to come into these locker rooms and still be myself and not be this timid guy? And, like, how did that work?
Yeah, it was nice. I'm kind of a pretty shy guy to begin with at the start. So it takes me a little bit to get comfortable, but it definitely helps me from now, because I was with the same team for 4 years. So I never really went through that experience a ton. And then coming to the next level, I played for Rockford for a year, which was nice. And then coming up is kind of where it was like, oh, you're with a bunch of people in the best league in the world, to say the least. So a little nervous, but it definitely helped me going from team to team to team, because you're meeting all these new guys. You're getting put in those situations that not a lot of people are comfortable in. So it definitely, I'd say it definitely helped me out.
You mentioned coming to Chicago for Alex DeBrincat's wedding. What do you expect that scene to be like with your teammates? And who's the one teammate you're going to be like, wow, I didn't realize he thought he had the dance moves that he put together out there, and he might be the running joke of the wedding?
I don't know. Like, Alex is a pretty quiet guy, so I can't wait to see him kind of dance a little bit and see what he's got moving there. But yeah, I'd have to go with Brinksy. I haven't really seen him. Maybe Kaner too. He's pretty quiet, so see what he has in store for us.
We actually had I think it was 2 years ago at the Blackhawks convention, we had Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat on our panel for the Blackhawks Talk podcast. And Dylan said that Alex has one dance move, and it was he just waves his arms up in the air. So if he does that dance move, we'll report back to us afterwards. That is still all in his arsenal.
All right, sounds good. I'll have to.
Anything else on your summer agenda besides hitting the links and playing some golf and getting ready for another season?
Probably just go see some family in Saskatchewan. I was born and raised there for a couple of years. My entire family, dad's side and mom's side, are still out there. So I'll make my ways around there. Maybe try to get out to the lake or hang out with my cousins and grandparents and stuff. It'll be nice.
Well, enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you for doing this. It was a great first season. You made a lot of Blackhawks fans happy with your work ethic and the mentality you brought to the ice every night. And we're all looking forward to seeing year 2.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, guys.
Our conversation with Brandon Hagel, that was our cold brew check presented by Dunkin'. This postseason, be sure to grab a cold brew for game time, because where there's hockey, there's Dunkin'. Our thanks to Brandon Hagel and Blackhawks Media Relations for setting up that interview. We thank you for listening. As always, don't forget to rate us, and we'll catch you next time on the Blackhawks Talk podcast presented by Coors Light.